The next morning, Zainab woke up with only one thought. She had to escape. But how? Where would she go? She finished her morning chores and decided to talk to the woman next door. Mama Kemi. She was always kind, sometimes giving Zainab food when Auntie Bimbo was not looking. When Auntie Bimbo went out, Zainab rushed to Mama Kemi's house. "Auntie, please help me," she whispered, her voice shaking. Mama Kemi looked surprised. "What is it, my child?" Zainab swallowed hard. "Uncle Kunle, he is doing things, and Auntie Bimbo knows, but she does not care." Mama Kemi's face changed. She looked around, then pulled Zainab inside. "Listen to me," she said in a low voice. "This city is dangerous. Powerful men do whatever they want. If you report them, nobody will believe you." Zainab's heart sank. But I can't stay there." Mama Kemi sighed. "Where will you go? Do you have money? Do you know anyone who can help you?" Zainab shook her head. Mama Kemi touched her shoulder. "Be careful, my child. Be very careful." Zainab left, her chest heavy. She thought Mama Kemi could help her, but now she felt even more alone. She had no one to run to. Zainab could not sleep. She lay on a cold kitchen floor, staring at the small window. Her heart pounded. She had to leave. She waited until the house was silent. Auntie Bimbo and Uncle Kunle were asleep. The only sound was the ticking of the clock on the wall. Slowly, she sat up. She tiptoed to the back door and touched the handle. It was locked. Her heart sank. She did not give up. She moved to the small window above the sink. It was high, but if she climbed on the counter, she could reach it. She stepped onto the counter and pushed the window. It did not move. Panic filled her chest. She pushed harder till nothing. Suddenly, a voice came from behind. "And where do you think you're going?" Zainab froze. She turned slowly. Auntie Bimbo was standing there, her arms crossed. Her eyes were filled with anger. Zainab's mouth went dry. She had no words. Before she could explain, Auntie Bimbo grabbed her arm and dragged her to the living room. "You ungrateful girl," she shouted. "I took you from the village, and this is how you repay me?" Tears ran down Zainab's face. "I just want to go home," she whispered. Auntie Zainab gave her a dirty slap. "You have no home anymore. Do you hear me?" Zainab held her cheek, crying. "You will stay in this house and do as I say." Auntie Bimbo hissed. "Try this again and I will make your life worse than you can ever imagine." She dragged Zainab back to the kitchen and locked the door behind her. Zainab sat on the floor shaking. Her first escape had failed, but she could not give up. She had to try again before it was too late. The next day passed slowly. Zainab no longer tried to escape, but she never stopped thinking about it. She had to be smart. If she ran again and got caught, Auntie Bimbo might do something worse. One afternoon, Auntie Bimbo sent her to buy bread from the shop down the street. It was her first time going out alone. Zainab walked quickly, afraid Auntie Bimbo might change her mind. At the shop, she waited in line. An older woman selling fruits nearby called out to her, "Hey, little girl, come." Zainab hesitated, looking around. Was she talking to her? The woman waved her closer. "Come, I don't bite." Slowly, Zainab walked to her. "I always see you," the woman said in a gentle voice. "You are always quiet. You never smile. Is everything okay?" Zainab's throat tightened. No one had asked her that before. "I am fine, ma," she whispered, looking at the ground. The woman sighed. "If you ever need help, just tell me, okay?" Zainab looked up, her heart racing. Could she trust this woman? Before she could say anything, someone grabbed her arm. It was Auntie Bimbo. "You useless girl," she hissed. "Who told you to stand here and gossip?" Zainab was so surprised. She had never seen Auntie Bimbo this angry in public. "Sorry, ma," she mumbled, her eyes looking straight to the old woman. The old woman watched quietly, her face serious. As Auntie Bimbo dragged Zainab away, the woman spoke. "Don't be afraid, my child. Help will come." Zainab did not know what that meant, but as she was pulled back into the house, a tiny hope came inside her. Maybe, just maybe, she was not alone after all. Zainab could not stop thinking about the old woman's word. "Don't be afraid, my child. Help will come." Did she really mean it? Could someone actually help her? That night, as she lay on the cold kitchen floor, an idea formed in her mind. She had to find a way to talk to the old woman again. The next morning, as she swept the front yard, she saw the old woman across the street, arranging her fruits. Their eyes met. The old woman gave a small nod. Zainab's heart pounded. She had to act fast. Later that afternoon, Auntie Bimbo sent her to buy salt from the same shop. This was her chance. She walked quickly but stopped near the fruit store. The woman noticed and spoke very gently. "Are you ready to leave?" Zainab's breath caught. "Yes," she whispered. The woman glanced around. "Come to my store tomorrow morning. I will have someone waiting to take you away." Zainab was surprised. Is this really happening? But what if Auntie Bimbo find out? What if she got caught? No, she had to be brave. Tomorrow she will finally escape. Zainab could hardly sleep that night. Her heart pounded with fear and hope. By this time tomorrow, she will be free or caught. She had to be careful. Early in the morning, she did all her chores quickly. Auntie Bimbo was still in bed, and Uncle Kule had already left for work. She picked up the small bag where she had hidden a wrapper and her only pair of slippers. Then she quickly stepped out of the house, trying to keep her breathing calm. She walked fast, but not too fast. She didn't want to look suspicious. The fruit store was just ahead. The old woman saw her and gave her a small nod. A young man stood beside her. He looked strong and serious. "This is Tunde," the old woman said. "He will take you somewhere safe." Zainab opened her mouth to thank her, but suddenly a hand grabbed her arm. "Auntie Bimbo." Zainab turned slowly, her blood running cold. Auntie Bimbo's eye burned with anger. "Where do you think you are going?" she repeated, her voice low but full of anger. Zainab couldn't speak. She looked at the old woman, then at Tunde. Fear filled her chest. If she said the wrong thing, Auntie Bimbo might never let her out again. I was just," Zainab stammered, her throat dry. Auntie Bimbo's eyes narrowed. She looked at the old woman and at Tunde. She held Zainab's hand more tight. "Let's go home," she hissed. Zainab struggled, but Auntie Bimbo's grip was too strong. Then Tunde stepped forward. "Madam, let her go," he said. His voice was calm but firm. Auntie Bimbo shouted, "Who are you to tell me what to do? This is my niece." The old man spoke next. "We know what is happening in your house." Auntie Bimbo shouted, "You don't know anything." "Oh, we do," the woman said. "And if you don't let her go, I will make sure everyone knows." For the first time, Auntie Bimbo looked unsure. She glanced around. People were watching. A few neighbors had stopped what they were doing. Zainab's heart raced. Maybe she had a chance. Auntie Bimbo's face darkened. "You think you can take her away from me?" she whispered. She yanked Zainab's hand again, harder this time. But then, "Madam, if you don't let go, I will call the police," Tunde said. For a long moment, she stared at Tunde and the old woman, and at Zainab. Then, slowly, she released her grip. "Useless girl," she spat. "Fear! Go, but don't think life will be easy for you." Zainab didn't wait. She turned and ran. She didn't look back. Tears streamed down her face, but she didn't stop. Tunde ran beside her. guiding her through the busy streets. The old man had told him where to take her, a safe place. After what she felt like forever, they reached a small house in a quiet area. "Come inside," Tunde said gently. Zainab hesitated. Could she trust him? But where else could she go? Slowly, she stepped inside. The house was small, but neat. A kind-looking woman stood in the doorway. "This is Mama Esther," Tunde said. "She helps girls like you." Mama Esther smiled warmly. "You are safe here, my child." Zainab's leg felt safe. Was it true? She wanted to believe it, but fear still sat heavily in her heart. Would Auntie Bimbo come looking for her? Would Uncle Kunle find her? Or was this another trap? Zainab sat in the small room inside Mama Esther's house. It had a bed, a chair, and a window that let in fresh air. It was simple, but it felt different. It was safe. Mama Esther brought her food. "Eat, my dear. You need strength." Zainab stared at the plate. She couldn't remember the last time she ate without fear. Slowly, she took a bite. Tunde sat nearby, watching her. "You don't have to be afraid anymore," he said. Zainab wanted to believe him, but her body was still tense, expecting Auntie Bimbo to burst in any second. That night, she lay on a bed, staring at the ceiling. Was it really over? Or would Auntie Bimbo come for her? The next morning, Mama Esther sat beside her. "Tell me everything, my child," she said gently. Zainab took a deep breath, and for the first time, she told her story. Everything. The betrayal, the suffering, the fear. Mama Esther listened without interrupting. When Zainab finished, her hands were shaking. Mama Esther reached out and held her hands. "You are not alone anymore," she said. Zainab's eyes filled with tears. For the first time in a long time, she believed those words. Maybe, just maybe, she could start all over again. Mama Esther was kind, and the other girls in the house treated her like a sister. They had all been through different struggles, but they understood her pains. One morning, as she helped Mama Esther in the kitchen, there was a knock at the door. Zainab froze. Her heart pounded. Was it Auntie Bimbo again? Mama Esther touched her shoulder. "Stay here," she said. She walked to the door and opened it. Zainab held her breath, but it wasn't Auntie Bimbo. It was Tunde, and he was not alone. A police officer stood beside him. "Zainab," Tunde says gently, "we have to report everything. It's time to stop Auntie Bimbo and Uncle Kunle." Zainab's stomach twisted. Go to the police? Would they even believe her? Mama Esther knelt beside her. "My dear, you can stay here and hide forever, or you fight back. No one should go through what you did." Zainab swallowed hard. She has spent her whole life being afraid. Maybe it was time to stop running. She took a deep breath and nodded. "I am ready." Tomorrow, she will face her past. And this time, she won't be alone. The next morning, Zainab, Mama Esther, and Tunde arrived at the police station. Zainab's hands were shaking, but she kept telling herself, "I am not alone." A female officer took her statement. She listened carefully as Zainab told her everything. How Auntie Bimbo tricked her, how she was forced to work like a slave, how Uncle Kunle looked at her, and how Auntie Bimbo allowed it. When she finished talking, the officer looked at her and said, "You are very brave." Zainab blinked. Brave? She had never thought of herself that way. The police promised to investigate. Days later, news came. Auntie Bimbo and Uncle Kunle had been arrested. Zainab could only believe it. For the first time in her life, she was free. No more fear, no more pains. Mama Esther helped her start school again. Tunde became like a brother to her. And Zainab, she smiled again. She laughed again. She dreamed again. She was no longer the scared girl from the village. She was strong. She had survived. And she would never let anyone take her freedom again.
Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more.